Now let's check in on Pope Leo. Let's have a look at this footage of him blessing a block of ice at a Vatican climate change event. I mean, really? We have Christians under attack from the US to Africa to the Middle East, and this is what the Pope is doing. CJ, he also attacked climate skeptics and said that we have to listen to the cry of the earth.
You know, I'm not Catholic, so I'm going to leave it to my Catholic brothers and sisters to hold their own to account. But what I will say is you would think, as you rightfully pointed out, that there would be bigger priorities for the Pope, right? You know, you have Christians being massacred all across the world. Where is his speech on that? Where is his remarks on that? Today, I, saw, a statement he made about the treatment of illegal aliens in America. You know, illegals are being deported and sent back to the country from which they came. They broke our laws. We treat them like criminals, just like we would treat a criminal who was an American in this country. There's no reason that we should hold to a higher standard to give better treatment or quality to illegal aliens who have no respect for the rule of law or law and order in this country. And so I think the Pope should stick to religion. I think he should stick to, teaching, the Bible's good word. And I think he should leave the political statements to, well, the politicians.
Now to an exclusive from Fox News, which has unearthed note cards from the Biden era showing the administration detailed the names and photos of high-profile Democrats, even Hillary Clinton, for President Biden to help him during live events. CJ, these cards also included journalist questions to Biden during a press conference. So these questions were submitted beforehand. The media, you have to think, was complicit in this charade.
No, you're exactly right. They were just another arm of the DNC. And to go even further than that, honestly, when I saw these note cards in this exclusive story from Fox News, I was a little surprised because Joe Biden himself wasn't included. I would assume that he would have had to be reminded, Joe, you are the president. Joe, you live in the White House. Joe, you actually are running this meeting. And so I guess I didn't give him enough credit for reminding himself or remembering himself being the leader of the free world. So I guess, credit where it's due in that regard.
Now, CJ, tell me about the government shutdown, the Schumer shutdown as it's being called. What's likely to be the circuit breaker and how concerned is the administration about this shutdown? President Trump seems to be rather relaxed about it. Here he is. Have a look at these images of him negotiating in the Oval Office, and he's got these Trump 2028 caps prominently positioned, just trolling the Democrats. How do you see this ending?
I think the White House is relaxed because I think we know that the American people realize that this is a Schumer shutdown. The Democrats own this shutdown. They are choosing to prioritize free health care for illegal aliens in this country over the paychecks of U.S. Army soldiers, of our American service members. They're choosing to prioritize that over the actual goods and services that the American people pay with their taxpayer dollars. And so this is a losing issue for them. At the end of the day, if moderate Democrats came over in the Senate and agreed to a clean extension of this budget, what we would see is the government would immediately reopen. But what would have to happen is that Schumer would have to grow a spine. He would actually have to grow some cojones. And he would have to actually, as J.D. Vance said in a press conference today, not allow AOC to drag him to the far left of his party. And so until that happens, until he shows some courage, the government will remain shut down. And I think the American people will continue to distrust the Democrats' party ability to lead.
CJ, it is being called the Schumer shutdown, and I don't think Chuck likes that at all.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
I suspect perhaps he could hear. I just didn't want to answer the question. CJ, before you go, the Wall Street Journal has a follow-up on the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney controversy. It turns out the CEO of the company was behind the campaign. He oversaw it and he knew it would be controversial. Wall Street Journal reports some marketing pundits predicted that the culture war uproar would drain American Eagle's sales and dent its reputation, as similar controversies had for companies like Cracker Barrel, Target and Anheuser-Busch. That would be the Bud Light controversy. Instead, American Eagle's sales improved after the Sweeney campaign began and sales growth turned positive in August. CJ, I can tell you why it wasn't like the other examples. They involved companies going woke and broke. There was no wokeness in this campaign. It was very much mainstream.
You know, you're exactly right. And Rita, are you telling me that a hot model can sell jeans? You know, what a crazy concept to think about, especially, you know, when we look back, you know, to a point of time just a few years ago in the Biden years where you had, you know, all these like obese models and all of these things. They were trying to make these woke points and the people weren't buying it. Look at what happened to Bud Light and all of these other once, you know, beloved American brands. And so thank God for a CEO in American Eagle that stood up for what he believed in, didn't, cower in the face of all of the pressure. And it goes to show that while the left can get loud and they can get very, very raucous, they are the minority in this country today. And I think he was rewarded for his courage in this situation.
I think corporates are going to increasingly realise that the hard left, they are loud, but they are small. And finally, perhaps they could cater their marketing to the mainstream, which they've ignored really in recent years. CJ Pearson, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rita.